It's a case of empires colliding today in room 442 as Footy Prime, the podcast, dropped by Jimmy Brennan and Craig Forrest, myself, James Shulman, Mikey Singh over there. These two guys have a little bit of history playing for Canada over many, many years ago, I should add. But these two fellas here...
him more than me.
Yeah, well, still quite a long time, Jimmy. But I thought I had some fun today, right? So the last time Canada won a trophy, or any trophy really, was Gold Cup 2000. That is a long time ago. Canada potentially now have a chance of another trophy with a good result against Honduras going to the Nations League finals. So let's compare the 2000 Gold Cup champions to this current Canadian team. First of all, Craig, let's start with you. How do you think you boys would have fared?
I think we would have won 3 or 4-0. You know, I don't think they've got any pace, this team. You know, they got a couple average players. They one decent player playing for Bayern Munich. But other than that, pretty average. I think we'd beat them pretty soundly, you know, just our pace alone.
And I'm telling you now, that player from Bayern wouldn't be keeping me out of the team on that left side.
Well, I was going to ask that question, actually, Mikey. So if we can decide out of that 2000 team, that's, in fairness, a really good team, right? Tons of character, great work ethic, some talent. But this current Canada team has oozing talent. But who out of that team would make this current team, right? Let's start in goal. Would you put Stacks here, Craig Forrest, ahead of Milan Borjan?
Were you asking
me? No, I'm asking Mikey here.
It's a toss-up, you know. Milan, you know what he means to the team inside the locker room. Craig, would you bring that same presence inside the locker room?
Are you out of your mind? Of course I would have. Of course, we're cut out of the same cloth.
Are you saying you would unequivocally start over Borjan? Number one keeper here in Canada.
Yeah, I'm not saying anything. Goalkeepers union. We'd both do. I think everybody would do a fine job.
On that left side, though, joking aside, listen, let's assume Fonzie's playing up front
Yes,
for this argument, okay? Or on the right-hand side.
Yeah.
You know, it's Jimmy Brennan, Sam Adekubi.
That's good too. I like
Yeah, but it's a pretty closely fought run there, I think, don't you, Mikey?
Yeah, definitely. Your prime wasn't that long ago. I think in your prime, come on, he's right up there.
All right, I'll take that.
Yeah?
Yeah, I'll take that.
Jimmy was fast. Jimmy had a lot of pace. He was very good.
No, listen, I'd love to hammer Jimmy Brennan right now, but you are a very, very good left-sided player for Canada, and I probably still have you on that side if I had to create a mixed team right now. But what was it about that team, Jimmy, in 2000? Like I mentioned, there was talent there, but it wasn't oozing talent like the US or Mexico, even Colombia, right? What was it about that team that pushed you over the edge?
I think for us with that squad, we had great chemistry. We really had a group of guys that worked hard. Everything just clicked, and I think a lot of the times too, when you go into tournaments and big games, everybody's got to be clicking at the same time, and everything just worked for us. And it was one of those things where we're just in sync the whole time, weren't we, throughout that tournament?
Well, and as well as you always need a goal-scoring threat or somebody that's going to put the ball in the net. And you talk about any tournament like that, and Carlo Corazine, you know, knocked in 4 or 5 in that tournament, and a time when he wasn't really scoring at that rate. So we had those. We had good timing as far as Richard Hastings scoring in the golden goal, which they don't have anymore, against Mexico. Unlikely goal scorer. He scored 1 goal in his entire career, but it was a massive one. We had penalty shots and all sorts of different things. But you do need a little bit of luck in tournament football. It does have that. But you're right, Jimmy. We did have that character, but we knew what we were about. We knew we couldn't concede many, defend really well, and try to nick goals up front and take your opportunities when they come. It was no secret how we were going to play. A little different with this group.
I think defensively too, we were organized. We knew what we were like. We weren't a flashy team. You know, we had a few guys that could express themselves in the final third, but you know, I think the big thing for us was getting it defensively right. We were hard to beat. We knew we were going to get opportunities, but we just had to capitalize when the time was right. And we did. Mm-hmm. And like you're saying there, everybody's got to chip in, and Richard Hastings chipped in, and a few others, you know, got goals that you would never have thought was scored. And it just all worked for us.
Yeah. Well, then I'm interested. You said you guys knew what your team was like.
Yeah.
How would you describe this version of Canada to someone else, maybe who doesn't even know much about soccer? Well, how would you describe this?
Well, I mean, quite honestly, dynamic, exciting. I wish I could only have been healthy and younger to be able to play with this group of players. So honestly, the pace, the technical ability of a few of these players is really at a level that I've never seen in Canada before. We joke aside about our team's differences, but this team right now, and even the younger players that are coming in and feeding off even a very short period of time, these international windows they're feeding off this quality and they're learning all the time. So it's only great for younger players as well to learn off the players and to have that set of standards and set your standards really, really high, which Canada have done. And hopefully they'll continue to do so, which I believe they will.
I agree with you. I don't think there's one ex-player that's played for Canada that would not want to be in this squad right now and play with these guys. You know, they're fun team to watch. They got so much pace and dynamic going forward. I think this is the best national team we've ever had by far, just because of the standard of playing where these players are playing.
From what you know of John Herdman and his way of management, how would you compare him to Holger Osiek?
Jeez. Yeah. Well, anybody's watched Hogan's Heroes or whatever. Holger's Heroes? No, we would call them Holger's Heroes. Hogan's Heroes, an old show. That would be sort of Holger. And then you got John Herdman, who's about half the size as well for stature and not German at all.
Yeah.
He is not German. The biggest contrast is one is German and one is not German.
Yeah. But there's big differences.
Huge
difference. I can't even start. I mean, very calm, John, very thoughtful. Holger was, when you're, not aggressive, not all that thoughtful, mean.
Well, listen, we heard John speak on Monday about the current off-the-field issues with Canadian soccer, and man, you could cut that tension with a knife. He said how it's just frustrating. How would Holger have dealt with the off-the-field issues, do you think?
Like a bull in a china shop. He would have just went crazy.
Yeah, honestly, he would have gone crazy, and he did do so on a few occasions with them. Yeah, frustration's been something that's been around for an awful long time, for sure. I think that the big thing is for the staff, John Herdman, they have to keep their nose out of it completely. He can never show one sign of weakness as far as backing the players, no matter what he thinks or believes. He has to be able to have the players on his side. Once you lose one, you've lost them all. So they just, look after what you can look after and let all the noise and everything else just go on behind the scenes, because it's certainly a lot of it.
Yeah, I think as well, with Holger, don't get me wrong, we got on with Holger.
Yeah.
And he was great with us.
Yeah.
But back at that time, that was the type of managers that were out there, where I think John today has adapted to change. He's adapted to the players, the way the game is and where it is today. I think John's probably one of the best managers that you'll see that is adapted to the game. And he reads players, he understands it, he understands the psyche of players.
Yeah. It's a good point,
they're,
Jimmy, because
they're completely different managers.
It's the understanding of the generation too.
Yeah.
And the different generation, the different personalities that these generations have, and there is significant differences, and they seem to have figured that out really, really well, and so far so good for everybody.
You mentioned he's calm, cool, and collected. That's what we get to see. Do you think he's like that when the locker room doors are closed and he's talking to his players?
Yes, to a certain point, but I think when he's privately, if he's in his house back on Vancouver, he's a different personality. He's very much a family man too, as well. He's got different layers to John Herdman, that's probably the best way to put it. And he's got these different boxes that he can put himself in, whether he's coaching, whether he's looking after staff, where he's looking after individuals, where he's looking after the media, where he's looking after all these things, all these different things he can do very well and put them in these boxes and incredibly successful doing that.
You guys warm enough? Do you want to head inside now?
This was a 4-minute interview. Not even.
Yeah, but just seeing you shiver and tremble, I thought let's prolong it a little bit longer, Jimmy.
You're going to ask another question?
No, I'm not. No, we're done. Should be a great match tonight. Footy Prime and Room 442. It was bound to happen at some point.